This is Deron Black, and if you probably haven't taken an opportunity, well, guess what? I just dropped another Black Report. And this video right here is just going to serve as a little bit of a teaser because, I'm really getting better in this process, so I'm going to pat myself on the back. I am able to express myself and able to present to you the information that I think is going to be tremendously helpful, not only for you, myself, but for Kansas City in general, because the more people that we have that are informed about what's going on in our city, then I think that ultimately can lead to progress taking place. Because let's just be honest, we've been lacking a lot of civic pride lately. So on this week of the Black Report, you might be seeing pictures scroll by of members of the community such as Bruce Watkins, man, R.I.P. to the great man, and also, of course, Leon Jordan, amongst others, because it wasn't just them, and it wasn't just the members of, Freedom Incorporated from back in the day who were trying to make a difference in Kansas City. There was a few people, striving to make changes, in Kansas City back in those times. But this week of the Black Report, I kind of start off, talking about some of the things that were taking place in the 1960s. And remember, these things weren't just happening necessarily in Kansas City. They were happening pretty much all across the country. In the 1950s, Kansas City was experiencing some very tumultuous times. If you look at what was taking place, the urban renewal projects, or slum clearance, as some would say, was happening. And because of that, a lot of families were broken up. A lot of situations probably took place that shouldn't necessarily have taken place. And a lot of people were moved out of the inner city. And, that created a ripple effect that never has really been mended, in my opinion. One of the experiences that I had when 10 years ago I was forming an organization called Alpha Male Nation with some brothers that I knew and grew up with. One of our mentors at that time, Brother Samuel Sharif, Brother Samuel had he had given me a book, and it was called The City Divided. And in that book, it basically broke down how the whole formation of truce being looked at as a racial divider, and how the efforts of the city and the elites within the city were basically trying to confine people to certain areas, and those efforts were really related to a national effort to organize the communities across the country in a way that would resonate till today through the understanding of, concentrated poverty. Now, I'm not one of those individuals that tries to hold the racial components of this story out front, because yes, the story is racial, but after you get beyond the race, then what are you going to do to actually fix the situation and solve the problems? And that is what a lot of my story is associated around, because once I realized that, I have to be a change agent in this whole dynamic of progress and moving my city forward and moving my family forward, even and myself as well, past the conditions that have basically become so familiar. Once I was aware of the environment that I was in, I talk a little bit about that, in this week's podcast as well, because, when I was a child, man, I used to think that, I didn't think that we were rich, but I thought that we were a lot better off than what we really were. And as I got older, one of the things that really had an effect on me was how I believe that the morals, the values, and those things that my family were really centered around, we're starting to really fall apart, not just even in my family, but, across the community in general. So, man, if you haven't had opportunity, go ahead, check out the Black Report. You should find it on all of your, the main areas, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and even YouTube. But anyway, till next time, everybody, peace, love, and hot grease.